Okay, go ahead.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. I will now call the hearing to order. As directed by Manitoba Health, we're requesting people avoid close contact. Please keep within 2 meters with anyone showing symptoms of a respiratory illness such as coughing or sneezing. If you are experiencing flu-like symptoms, we are requesting that you excuse yourself from the room. Regarding people on Zoom, please note when you join the meeting via Zoom, all participants will be in the waiting room and your microphone will be muted until the host lets you into the room. You can watch the hearing live via the City's Board of Revision YouTube channel. When called upon, you will be allowed from the waiting room and permitted to speak with respect to your property. Once you have been heard, you can continue to watch the hearing live via the City's Board of Revision YouTube channel. If any participants are currently watching the live meeting on YouTube, please mute your audio player now. Thank you. I would like to begin by acknowledging that we are in Treaty 1 territory and the traditional homeland of the Métis Nation. This morning on the panel, my name is Robert Hutchings. I'll be chairing the hearing this morning. Sitting on the panel today with me is Ms. Rempel and Mr. Moretsky, and our chair today will be Ms. Balshaw. The assessor representing the Assessment and Taxation Department will be Ms. Nichols today. We will be hearing application for revision of the assessment roll in accordance with the Municipal Assessment Act. The matters for which revision is requested have been described in each application, and we will limit discussion to those matters. The statements that are made at the hearing are sworn testimony, and anyone speaking to the matters must be sworn in. Be advised that comparisons of assessments of properties are not considered evidence of market value by this Board of Revision. The Board of Revision is appointed annually by Council and is independent of it and the City Administration. It makes its decisions on the basis of the evidence provided at this hearing and issues a written order that will be mailed to you to all parties as soon as possible. Please note that the Board's decision with respect to an application may be appealed to the Manitoba Municipal Board if the matter pertains to assessed value or classification, or to Court of Queen's Bench if the matter pertains to application of exemptions from taxation. Should you wish to appeal, information on how to do so will be included with this Board's order. With respect to the hearing process, I will confirm the matters to be addressed with each applicant following their swearing in. The procedure today will be, we'll have the assessor testimony, followed by cross-examination by the appellants first, and then the panel members, and then the appellant's testimony, followed by cross-examination by the assessor first, and then the panel members. Should you wish to appeal, pardon me, each side will have an opportunity to summarize if they wish. Once all of the evidence about an application has been brought forward, the applicant may leave. The process will repeat for each item on the docket today. The session will close after all the applications have been heard, and the Board will deliberate in private and make its decisions based on evidence presented here today. You will receive the order by registered mail as soon as possible. As information, all public hearings are live streamed, recorded, and will be part of the public record. And can everybody please put their cell phones on complete silence while their property is being heard? Okay, thank you. I think we'll.
I'll just swear them in.
Pardon me?
I was just going to affirm the assessor.
Yes.
So, Ms. Assessor, for the record, please state your name.
Jennifer Nichols?
You affirm the evidence you'll present today is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Thank you. And we'll get Taylor in here.
Okay, first property on the docket we're going to deal with today is the person present in the hearing room right now, 839 Ashburn Street, Mr. Wen, or Miss, I'm not sure, Mr. or Mrs. Wen. Can they please come forward, please?
Sit in either of those chairs, please. Actually, before you sit, I'll just get you to please state your name.
Ben Nguyen?
Do you affirm the evidence you'll present today is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Thank you. I'm gonna put you guys away.
Okay. Well, I have a list of comparables.
No, sir. Just wait a sec, please. Bear with me while I get up the assessor's brief, And the process is going to be that the assessor is going to present first.
Okay.
Okay, so I will call you right away. Just bear with me. Okay. Ms. Nichols, when you are ready, please, 839 Ashburn Street.
Okay, so roll number 13-096065500. This property is in the Minto neighborhood. It is a one-story home built in 1944. It does have an effective age of 1944, which would reflect some renovations done. The living area is 947 square feet. It has a full part area basement, which is not finished, one full bathroom, central air conditioning, a single detached garage, lot area of just under 4,400 square feet, and the current 2021 assessment is $214,000. There was a sale in 2017 for $220,000, and there was also a post-reference sale, but I haven't included that one in 2020. So for comparable number one, I have 609 Sherburne Street, which is similar in age, built in 1928, a little bit smaller, 848 square feet. It doesn't have a finished basement, has air and a detached single garage. And that property sold for time-adjusted sale price of just over $214,000. Comparable number two, 492 Ingersoll, one story, similar kind of age, built in 1929, pretty similar in square footage, 929 square feet. This one does have a finished basement, but it doesn't have the single detached garage. And this property sold for $239,000. Comparable three, 502 Ingersoll, one story, built in 1928, 904 square feet, so a little smaller than the subject. Again, it does have the finished basement. It does have the single detached garage, and this property sold for $258,600. So I do think if we take off the value that the finished basement would add, it still would come out to a reasonable value compared to the subject. And the final comparable, number four, 866 Strathcona, built in 1913. 864 square feet, so smaller than the subject, no finished basement. It does have the detached single garage. This property does have a negative influence. It has a commercial property that's right next door. And this property sold for $187,000. So I think considering the comparables that I was able to find, the 2021 assessment value of $214,000 is reasonable.
Thank you, Ms. Nichols, pardon me. Mr. Nguyen, any questions of the evidence that the assessors presented?
No, sir.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Rempel, any questions of the assessor?
I have no questions, thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Moretsky, any questions of the assessor?
No, I do not have any questions.
Thank you. Ms. Nichols, would you mind providing me with the selling prices per square foot on the properties?
Yes, per square foot for comparable number one is $252.48.
Okay.
For comparable two, $257.27 per square foot.
Okay.
Comparable three was $286.06 per square foot. And comparable four was $217.36 per square foot.
And can I have the subject?
The subject,
assessment?
yeah. So currently the assessed value per square foot is $225.98.
Okay. Thank you. And would you have any exact knowledge of that commercial influence on comp number 4?
No, I don't know exactly what it is. I'm not sure. I'm just looking at the map provided on page 2. It looks
Okay.
like there's some sort of large commercial influence behind that property. I'm not sure what it is.
Okay. And are we between Ellis and Sargent, or?
That particular property?
Yeah.
The comparable? It looks like it's between St. Matthews and Wolliver Avenue. Wolliver
Okay.
Avenue?
And it's on, it was on Strathmona, right? Is that
It's
right?
on Strath.
Yes.
Yeah. So it's right behind the subject.
Yeah, so it's on probably on the west side.
On the west side, yes.
Okay, perfect. That's commercial. Okay. Thank you very much. That's my only question. Okay. Mr. Nguyen, bear with me for a second. I'm going to find your brief that you presented. Okay, sir, when you're ready, please.
Yes, sir. The comparables that the city has are very good for that time period, for 2016, 2017. But I think the market has readjusted to the proper value. As you see, the home that I own now actually only sold for $186,000. It was originally listed for $220,000, but nobody purchased it. The comparables that I have are for 2019, all the city assessments, that's CA, written in red there. And the sale price was a lot lower than the city assessment. So I think the market readjusted itself to the market value.
Okay. Maybe I'll ask Ms. Nichols to explain the reference date for the current assessment and how it relates to those 2019 sales that the appellant has presented.
So the reference date that we're looking at for the 2020-2021 assessments is April 1st of 2018. So all of the sales that I have presented today occurred before that reference date, but those sale prices, so if you look at the just under the sales information, if you look at the top sale price, that is the actual sale price. And then if you look just 2 lines down, you'll see it says the time adjusted sale price. So that is basically the sale price as the properties would have sold on April 1st of 2018. That's estimated from calculated, I guess, by a model. So all of the sales that we're looking at for this particular assessment, 2021, have to have occurred before April 1st of 2018. So any sales that occurred after that date will be relevant for the next reassessment, but for this reassessment, we're just looking at the sales that occurred before April 1st of 2018. So if the market has changed, that will be reflected in the next reassessment.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Nguyen, do you understand what the assessor has explained to you about the post-reference evidence that you presented today at the hearing?
Yes, I do, sir. I did get the proper comparables for this assessment.
Yeah. So do you? I might as well jump in here right now. Do you have any evidence that is not post-reference?
Not on me right now, sir.
Okay. Okay. Sorry, Ms. Nichols. Ms. Nichols, do you have any questions of the evidence presented by the appellant?
No, I don't.
Okay, I think we covered it. All right. Ms. Rempel?
Yes, thank you. I'm wondering, I notice on the listing for your home that it indicates that the home is priced to sell and that there was a replacement of the windows in the home. They're to be installed after the purchase.
Yes, yes.
So were those windows in fact installed after?
Yes, they were, because the owner had prepaid for them, but I guess they, when he ordered them in, they hadn't come in yet or something.
Have you done any other renovations to the
No, I
home since you purchased it? I guess you just purchased it in 2020, you said?
2019.
2019. The other question I have is, it says that it is on a double wide lot. I noticed that you have a lot that is much larger than the other comparables that we have looked at today. And it said it's suitable for subdivision?
Yes, but if you were to subdivide, I guess the homes would be very small because it is a double wide lot, but the lengthwise it's a little bit shorter than the other homes.
So it's not something that you are looking into doing?
Myself.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Those are all my questions.
Thank you, Gisela. Mr. Moretsky, any questions of the appellant?
No, no questions.
Thank you. Okay, so Mr. Nguyen, so I'm just going to go through your house. It's a 1-story, does have central air conditioning and a single detached garage. And from what I understand, you have what we call a post-reference sale, and that's why you're appearing today? Or do you feel that the assessment at $214,000 does not reflect a 2018 April 1st market value?
That I'm not sure what the market value back then was, sir. All I know is that when I purchased the home, it was a little high. That's why it was sitting on the market for a long time. And the owner before me, I guess he had purchased it during the time frame when the market was going up. That's why he took a very big loss in selling his home.
Okay.
And nobody was taking it.
Okay. Ms. Nichols, any requirement for summary?
No, I think.
Okay,
covered everything.
thank you. Mr. Nguyen, requirement for summary at all?
Sorry, sir?
Would you like to summarize your presentation at all, or are you good with what you presented?
I believe I'm good with what I presented.
Okay. Okay, thank you very much. Thank you for appearing, and we'll consider evidence presented by both parties, and you'll be hearing from us as soon as possible. Okay, sir?
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. You can leave now.
Or you can stay if you wish.
No.
Thank you.
Okay, Kara, I think next property, I think we'll go to the top again. 6, item number 3, I believe.
I think your docket sheet is different, Mr. Hutchings. But yes,
For me?
I think your docket sheet is different because
Yeah, I've got the new one here, but we'll deal with 621 Mulvey Avenue. Miss Caldwell, I guess, please.
Good morning.
For the record, please state your name.
Taylor Caldwell.
Do you affirm that the evidence you'll present today is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
Good morning, Miss Caldwell.
Good morning.
Okay. Bear with me while I pull up the assessor's brief here. Okay, Ms. Nichols, when you're ready, please, 621 Mulvey Avenue.
Okay, so roll number 12-022-020000. This property is in the Earl Grey neighborhood. It's a 2.5-story home built in 1910 with an effective age of 1925. Again, reflective of some renovations. Living area of 1,709 square feet. A full part area basement, which is not finished. Central air conditioning and no detached structures for this property. The 2021 assessment roll for this property is $333,000. And again, there was a 2020 sale for this property, which I'm not referencing because it is post-reference. So the first comparable that I found was 768 Mulvey Avenue. All of the comparables are in the same Earl Grey neighborhood. So this was a 2.5-story built in 1911 with an effective age of 1931. So that would indicate a fairly similar level of renovation to the subject. Living area of 1,552 square feet. So this property is smaller than the subject. It has the full part area basement, which is not finished. No detached structures in this property. It does have some negative influences, a commercial property nearby. And this property sold for just shy of $295,000 for the time adjusted sale price, which is $189.88 a square foot. For comparable number 2, 901 Jesse Avenue, again, a 2.5-story built in 1912 with a effective age of 1925. So similar to the subject in that way. 1,708 square feet, so very close to the subject and living area. It has a full basement, which is not finished. This property does have a detached multiple car garage. It does have the commercial adjacent negative influence, but this property did sell for $346,800 or $203.04 per square foot. Comparable number 3, 706 Mulvey Avenue, 2.5-story, built in 1905 with an effective age of 1955. So that would indicate a higher level of renovation. It is quite a bit smaller, 1,278 square feet. It has the same full part area basement, which is not finished, no detached structures. And this property sold for $287,400, which is $224.88 per square foot. And the last comparable, which is 844 Warsaw Avenue, a 2.5-story built in 1912 with an effective age of 1922. So again, similar to the subject, full part area basement, which is not finished. This property has no detached structures. And this property sold for $326,600 or $209.63 per square foot. So based on the comparables that I was able to find, I did feel that the assessment was a little bit high. And I am recommending a reduction to $315,000 or $184.32 per square foot.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Nichols. First off, Ms. Caldwell, I'm not sure if you were aware the assessor had the recommendation, but will you accept it?
I think we're very close, but I do believe it should be slightly lower.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we'll say that you're not accepting it, and then we'll proceed as a normal hearing. Okay. So, Ms. Caldwell, based on the evidence of the assessor's brief, do you have any questions as presented by the assessor?
Actually, just one, and it's more of a general question. How come we deem a commercial influence as a negative factor on a property?
Because there's often increased traffic, there could be increased noise, parking issues surrounding the property. Just kind of depends on what the commercial property is, but a commercial property can bring some negative influences for the houses that are nearby.
Okay, interesting. I have no more questions.
Okay, thank you. Gisela, any questions of the assessor?
Yes, just a point of clarification. When you say for your comparables that the homes sold for example, number 1, 294,700, that in fact is the time adjusted sale price, is it not? That's not actually.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Right. Yes. Oh, yeah. All the prices that I gave was the time adjusted sale price for each comparable. Yeah.
That's all my questions.
Anything else, Gisela?
No, that's it for me. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Bill, any questions of the assessor's evidence?
No questions.
Thank you. And I have no questions either. Ms. Caldwell, just bear with me 1 second before you begin your presentation. I'm going to find your, do we have evidence presented, Kara?
I thought I emailed it to you this morning.
Pardon me?
The subject says item 5 first.
Item 5. Okay, bear with me 1 second, please.
Sent at 8:52 this morning.
Yeah. I got so many of them lined up. Oh no, item 6, item 7, 8.
You want to send it again?
No, I've got it here somewhere. I got so much lined up here. Okay, yes. So I'm showing 725 Jesse's, 594 Jesse, and 638 Warsaw.
Correct.
Okay, perfect. Okay, thank you. Okay, Ms. Caldwell, when you are ready, please.
Yes, absolutely. So I'll preface this by saying I didn't quite realize the date was April 1. So I will treat these as post-reference date evidence. But I'll kind of bring your attention to the two most prominent ones being, in my opinion, 594 Jesse Avenue. It's a 1,484 square foot house, and it sold for $278,000 on May 18th, 2018 at $187 per square foot. I think this is a slightly superior property as it has 4 bedrooms where mine has only 2. And a loft area that I wouldn't necessarily consider a bedroom because it is on the 3rd floor and has a ladder up to it, or second and a half floor rather. And this 594 Jesse as well has 2 bathrooms and was recently remodeled as opposed to my 1 bathroom. And this property in particular had electrical that was up to code, no knob and tube. Whereas mine had about $6,200 in knob and tube replacement that was required, obviously post-reference when I purchased the property in May of 2020. And then 638 Avenue, also very close to my home. It's 1,500 square feet and sold for $295,000 on October 4th, 2018. Similar 2.5-story house. This one has 5 bedrooms and 1.5 bathrooms and was recently remodeled, as well as no knob and tube in the property. So I think these ones are superior properties compared to mine at the time. Now I do have a question for you, Robert. Can I reference evidence that is pre-reference date that I didn't send along and send it afterwards, or?
I'm sorry, could you repeat that, please?
Can I reference 2 comps that were sold prior to April 1, 2018 that I'm just looking at right here, and then send them along afterwards for your review?
You can verbally present them.
Sure. Okay.
Nichols, are you okay with that?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
So 680 Warsaw Avenue was sold on September 23rd, 2017 for a price of $240,000. It is also a 2.5-story house built in 1912 at a size of 1,600 square feet. This one, a full unfinished basement as well, and this one had a single detached garage. So just say it again, $240,000 sale price, September 23rd, 2017, for 1,600 square feet.
Could I get a selling price per square foot, please?
Yes, I believe. It is $150 per square foot.
Okay. Thank you. And another one?
Yep, I'll give you more. It's 731 Fleet Avenue. Okay, and this one was sold October 7th, 2017. Also for a sale price of $250,000. And it's 1,475 square feet, 1,475, with a sale or a price per square foot of $169. This is a similar 2.5-story house built around a similar time, 1914. This was a 5-bedroom, 3-bath home. And there were updates done in 2010 and no garage similar to my property.
Okay.
And then I will just mention post-reference date. I purchased the property May 15th, 2020 for a price of $295,000, which is a price per square foot of $172.
Okay. Yeah, we're not going to take that into account. That's post-reference. So, yeah.
That's right.
But, thank you for the comparables. Now, you presented market evidence. Would you like to tell us about your home and why you think the assessment is too high?
I mean, it's hard not to mention the most recent sale, which happened in 2020. Now, I completely understand that we have that post-reference date. But looking at these other properties in the market very close to mine, I just believe that it's far too high. And the assessed value of $315,000, the market hasn't changed very much since I have purchased the property or since 2018. And I'd make the argument that the housing prices have actually gone up. So I just believe that a much more fair value for the property would be between $170 and $180 per square foot.
Would you mind giving me a total market value figure, please?
$290,000 to.
Okay.
$305,000, we'll say.
Okay. So around 300,000.
Correct.
Okay. All right. Okay. Gisela, any questions of the appellant? Pardon me, Ms. Nichols, any questions of the appellant?
So I'm not going to ask any questions about the post-reference sales, but I do have a question about so starting, I guess, with 680 Warsaw. So that property, I haven't really had a chance to look at that property at all, of course, but I think you mentioned it was 1,600 square feet.
Correct.
And your property I have down as just over 1,700 square feet. So when I'm looking at the sale price of that property, I guess two things are coming to mind. First of all, that property is smaller than yours. Would you agree that a larger property would be worth more?
Yeah, I mean, 100 square feet is not a huge difference, but I agree with that assessment, yes.
Okay. And then also in terms of renovations for that property, was that property renovated or was it just original?
It's quite similar condition to what mine was. There's some renovations here and there. It's certainly not kind of mid-century 1910 design. There's influence of kind of, all eras, I suppose, but very similar to mine. It's not super modern inside is what I'm trying to say.
Right. Okay. Okay, that's kind of all I was wondering about that property. And then the 731 Fleet, again, that one is quite a bit smaller than your property at 1,475 square feet. Mm-hmm. And that one you said was also renovated similarly?
Yeah, this one had a much more renovated kitchen.
Okay, I think that was all that I wanted to ask.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Rempel, any questions of the appellant?
Yes, well, actually, what I'm wondering is if the assessor could help me out on this one, and that is, the sales that were mentioned by the appellant, I'm assuming were actual sale figures that you were giving us. They're not the time adjusted
Right.
sales.
Right.
So that would
Yeah.
mean there would have to be an increase to time adjust these?
Yeah.
Is there a certain percentage increase that would be applied to this particular area of the city?
I don't actually think I have that information right here in front of me. And yeah, I'm not, and I don't know exactly what the time adjusted sale prices would have been for each of these properties.
Thank you.
Gisela, any questions of the appellant?
No, that's all my questions.
Okay, thank you. Bill, any questions of the appellant?
On the sold comparables that she provided, it says the sold price, let's take 725 Jesse Avenue, just for my own personal, my own clarification, the sold price is $292,725. And I think you had provided some dates to back when those were sold. What was the date sold for that, 725 Jesse?
At September 17th, 2018. So these are all post-reference.
After reference,
Yeah.
But anyways, how did you know the date? How do you know the date? Where is it stated on here, just for clarification?
On the evidence I sent along, good question. I'm not actually sure where it is on the PDF version, but I have access to Online Matrix, the Realtor portal, and it does say that there. So it doesn't seem to say it on this PDF I sent along.
Yeah, I can find it in any one of them. So anyways, that's all.
Sorry about that. It's just how it printed on PDF.
Thank you. Okay, Ms. Caldwell, my questions are related to the condition of your property, current condition. So I'm wondering, you made references to the comparisons that there were updates about the wiring and everything. What's the condition, or no, maybe I'll put it this way. What recent renovations have you done to your property, if any?
The only thing I did was upgrade knob and tube, correct, which is about $5,700 of knob and tube upgrade, removal and replacement of copper wire on the main floor. And then with that was an additional $2,000 to upgrade the fire systems just by upgrading them to code.
Okay, so you removed the knob and tube, put in a new 100 or 200 amp service?
Well, the panel was already there. It was partial. So we just removed the knob and tube and replaced the new wiring, but the panel was already there.
Okay, and the second thing you did was updated fire code? Sorry, what was that?
Correct, yeah. So when you have an electrician come by and as soon as they open the wall, they need to upgrade all the fire systems. So we made sure that there's an alarm hardwired on every floor.
Okay.
Fire detector, smoke detector rather.
Now, is this a revenue property, used as a revenue property, or?
No, it is not. Yeah, I live here, yeah.
Okay, and the assessor details that it's a 2.5 story. So does this include a finished attic, the 1,700 square feet?
It does, yes. It's kind of a wonky entrance to the attic. It's kind of a half stairway and then half ladder, which is why I would deem it
okay.
bedroom.
Okay, and the assessor detailed that it's full basement part area. So that leads me to believe that there's possibly a lean-to on the back that's heated, that isn't on full foundation, or what's the circumstance here?
It's kind of a crawl space underneath the addition of the back portion of the building.
There's an addition on there? Yeah.
Yeah, like I don't know when it was made, many years ago, but it is kind of, that portion has just the crawl space, and then the other portion of the basement is full.
So it's like a rear mudroom, what should we say, or a porch?
The back portion? No, it's a living room.
Oh, extension of the main floor. Okay.
Correct. Yeah, that's part of the 1,700 square feet.
Okay. All right. And just to confirm, based on the evidence you presented, you're asking, I'm going to say between $290,000 to $300,000 adjustment. Okay. Okay. Any requirement for summary by either party?
I think I'll just summarize quickly. If I'm just the comparables that I presented, if we're looking at especially comparables 1, 2, and 4, those comparables are all similarly updated. They're all 2.5 stories, so they're all going to have those similar issues that were mentioned with regards to the top level. And none of them had finished basements or anything like that. So I do think that looking at the time adjusted sale prices, especially if comparables 1, 2, and 4, there is definitely the value is definitely there in these properties when we're talking about an April 1st, 2018 reference date.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Caldwell?
Summary.
Are you good? Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much for appearing, and you'll hear from us as soon as possible. Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much.
That concludes 621 Mulvey Avenue.
So, Mr. Chair,
Yes.
while we were hearing the last item, the applicant for 631 Ingersoll has arrived. So we do have an applicant in person for that item now.
Sorry, which address, Kara?
631 Ingersoll.
Oh, yeah, okay.
And you will note as well, there are 3 points of appeal on that application.
Oh, okay. And that's 631, right? Yeah. Okay. So do we have anybody here from 139 Kenora Street?
No, that one has been withdrawn.
Oh. Oh, okay. 533 Craig Street?
Yeah, that one has an agreement. That's a 15-1.
Pardon me?
That's a 15-1.
Oh, okay. So I guess the next one we're going to do is 631 Ingersoll Street with the 3 points. Yes, okay.
Come up to the table. Before you take
Pardon me?
I'm going to ask say your name.
I see. Okay, there's somebody there present. Okay.
Frederick Jablonski.
Do you affirm that the evidence you will present today is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Affirm.
Thank you. You may take a seat.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Okay, 631 Ingersoll Street. Ms. Nichols, I understand we have 3 points of appeal here. I guess classification. Is that right, Kara?
We're looking at liability, decrease, and refusal of the assessor to amend the role.
Okay.
And Mr. Chair, as well, the applicant has indicated he will be making a verbal presentation exclusively.
Okay.
There is no other to look at from the applicant.
So, Mr. Jablonski, so the assessor, pardon me, the secretary has detailed that you have checked off 3 points of appeal. I'm not sure if you are aware. Are you appealing the classification on the property, the liability, and Or are you just appealing the assessed value of the property?
Well, I'm appealing the value of the property, but the assessors, this is about the fourth time that I'm appealing it, and I get nowhere. I get higher rated assessments.
Okay. Kara, shall we have the appellant? From what I understanding, I think he probably just checked off those on the application. Should we have him look at it and sign a withdrawal of those 3 points?
Yes, so he's checked off seeking decrease, liability to taxation, and the refusal to amend the rule.
Right.
I believe liability and the refusal point should be withdrawn, but
Yes. Would
I
you,
would withdraw form for that.
shall we do that now before we proceed?
If the applicant is agreeable to that, yes.
Yes. Okay, so we'll wait, Ms. Nichols, until Kara's got that organized for us.
Liability to taxation. Do you want to explain to him the liability to taxation and the refusal point and why he's withdrawing it?
Ms. Nichols, would you like to explain that?
So the liability to taxation would be applicable if, for example, the property was being used for a charity or something like that. So not really applicable to just a regular home that you're living in. And then the refusal to amend the rule would be something, my understanding is that it would have been more of a form of request of the city assessor, and we didn't have any documentation on that. I think this is just more about frustration over having to appeal each assessment cycle, from the sounds of it. Does that make sense?
No, it didn't make sense to me. I didn't get anything out of that.
So Mr. Jablonski, that final point, the refusal to amend the role, is available for people who have documentation to show that they've given the evidence and the assessor is not acknowledging. So for example, maybe you've had a garage on the property that burned and had to be taken down, and the assessor is saying, no, we still think there's a garage there, and they're refusing to take it off. But I think the assessor here, our hearing this morning, has outlined perhaps that point was checked off more in frustration that you've been having to go through this process multiple times. Is that accurate?
Yes. So, Mr. Jablonski, you checked off 2 items that are normally not dealt with or not relevant in a residential appeal. I believe today you are only appearing to deal with the assessed value of your property, not whether it's liable for a different class code, like a commercial class code or something like that. So what we're asking you to do is withdraw those 2 points of appeal, and we're going to only deal with your main concern, and that's the assessed value of the property. You understand that?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think
Because you filed an appeal on those points, we have to deal with them. We have to ask you whether you still want to pursue those 2 points. If you're not presenting any evidence to deal with that in the appeal today, then we're going to ask you to withdraw them. So
okay.
The secretary is going to make up a form for you to withdraw only those 2 points, but we are going to proceed with the assessed value appeal, okay?
Okay.
Okay, so she's going to bring you the form for you to sign and withdraw those 2 points.
We'll just add removing those 2 points from your application.
Liability to taxation and
Right.
refusal to assess to assessor to amend the
Assessment rule.
okay, that was liability to taxation, and
We'll leave this part. So once you've signed this, then we can proceed with talking about the value of the property.
You're amending the assessment role. What are you doing really?
You have no documentation to prove this?
Well, I don't want to go from home to business.
Right. So if you could just sign here and then date August 24th, we can proceed with discussing the value of your property.
Thank you. Okay, so Ms. Nichols, we are dealing with 631 Ingersoll. When you're ready, please.
Right. Okay, so roll number 13-02116800. This property is in the St. Matthews area. It's a one-story home built in 1927. No renovations or upgrades that I'm aware of. Living area of 640 square feet. A full basement, which we do have some basement finish listed. No air conditioning, and a single detached garage. And this property has a 2021 assessment of $183,000, which is $285.94 a square foot. So the first comparable that I'm looking at today is 317 Lipton Street. And all the comparables are in the same neighborhood, and they are all one-story buildings. So 317 Lipton was built in 1910. It does have a small effective age of 1925, so would reflect that there have been some sort of upgrade done at this property. Very similar in square footage at 680 square feet. It does not have a finished basement, whereas the comparable, we do have a finished basement listed, and no detached structures on this property. So this property sold for $180,000, which is $264.71 per square foot. Comparable 2, which is 342 Lipton Street, was built in 1910, 690 square feet, so a little bit larger than the subject, but fairly similar. This property does have some finished basement listed, and it does have a detached single-car garage similar to the subject. This property sold for a time-adjusted sale price of $189,400 or $274.49 per square foot. Comparable 3 is 442 Banning Street, built in 1910. This property is not showing any effective age, so that would reflect that it is not or has not been upgraded. 665 square feet, so that's pretty close to the subject. No finished basement on this property and no detached structures. And this property sold for $168,000. So I think this is showing a slightly lower sale price because it doesn't have the detached garage or any finished basement. And the final comparable is 635 Ingersoll, built in 1927. This property does have an effective age of 1957, which does reflect some upgrades. It is 640 square feet, which is the same size as the subject, no finished basement and no detached structures. And this property sold for $209,300 for the time adjusted sale price, or $327.03 per square foot. So looking at the range in sale prices, from on the low end, $168,000. That property had no finished basement and no detached structures, up to just over $209,000, which is on the high end for a little more renovated property. I do think that the 2021 assessment of $183,000 is reasonable and in line with the comparables. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Nichols. Okay. Mr. Jablonski, any questions on the evidence, the brief that the assessor has just presented?
Well, I don't know any of those houses or what they look like on the outside, let alone what they look like in the inside. Does she know what the conditions of the inside of the house was? Of those houses that sold for such a high price?
So comparable one. So comparables 1 and 4 do have some renovations. I'm not sure exactly what, like the exact level of renovation for this property, for those two properties, sorry. And then comparables 2 and 4 don't have any effective ages on them. So I would assume that they don't have any renovations or something very minimal.
4-bedroom home, you said?
No, I said those two we don't have any renovations listed for comparables 2 and 3.
Okay, I'm gonna go by what I know from my area where I live, 631 English, Ingersoll Street.
Okay, you know what, Mr. Jablonski, you'll have your opportunity to present your evidence, but any other questions of the assessor's evidence presented, or if you've got any question about the area, maybe ask her or put it in a question to her. Otherwise, we can save that for your presentation, okay?
Okay.
Take your time, there's no hurry.
Mr. Chairman, would it be okay if I did mention one thing that I wanted to mention during my presentation? This property was also appealed in 2020, and so the panel, at that time, did already review the evidence that was presented that time, and they did confirm the assessment for 2020. So I did just want to mention that as well.
Thank you.
What was that, 2020?
There was an appeal for 2020 for the value. Today's appeal is for the 2021 assessment, but the 2020 and the 2021 assessments are the same. The reference date is the same, so the sales that we're looking at are the same as what was reviewed for the 2020 appeal.
Mr. Jablonski, the assessor stating that you appeared last year for a 2020 appeal, and the Board of Revision at that time, we don't have access to the evidence presented today, but at that time with evidence presented, the board did confirm the value, the current value that's carried forward to 2021.
How did they confirm it? Did they say how they confirmed it?
No, they would have just, we don't have the evidence in front of us of that 2020 appeal, but it was confirmed. That's all we know right now, as presented by the assessor.
That means I don't know how they confirm it.
Okay. Neither do we. All we know is that it was confirmed. That's all she stated for the record.
The assessment by assessing the place, they assessed the 631?
Well, you filed an appeal last year, last year, and you appeared before this board last year for the 2020 appeal. And all she stated for the record was that the assessment was confirmed. We don't have access to any information on it.
The appeal.
Comparisons or anything, no. She's just stating a fact. That's all.
Think of it.
Yeah. So do you have any questions on the appeal brief that the assessor has presented so far?
Okay, all I wanted to know what was inside the house, improvements that made the house, so expensive.
Yeah. She stated that two of them, based on age variance and that kind of thing, that she, in her opinion, feels that there must be some kind of upgrades reflecting that age variant applied to two of those sales. So that's the only knowledge that she has of the inside of the other property comparisons she's used.
Okay. Well, I got no other questions then.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Rempel, any questions of the assessor?
Yes, I'm wondering, has this home ever been inspected?
Let me just check here. No, I'm not seeing any interior inspections.
I'm also wondering, could you tell me what amount was confirmed at the 2020 appeal?
It was the same value, so it was the 183,000 that was confirmed.
It was the same value.
Yeah, because it's the same reference date. It's part of the same kind of reassessment cycle. So the value for 2020 is the same as the value for 2021. So it was the 183. Yeah.
Thank you. That's all.
Yeah.
Thank you. Bill, any questions of the assessor?
Yeah, on the comps and the subject for that matter, on land influence, you have back lane for comp number 2. Are the other ones do not have a back lane, or
Right. Yeah.
looks on the map like they do? Yeah. If I read the map correctly, it looks like they do all have back lanes.
Yeah, it looks on the map like they may. Possibly just not something that we have listed for those properties yet, or something. Sometimes things do get missed, but that's not really a significant influence. So, not something that I was overly concerned with as to whether they had those things listed or not.
I agree. I thought I would just point it out anyways, though.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
No other questions.
Okay. Thank you, sir. And I have no questions of the assessor. Okay, Mr. Jablonski, when you are ready, I understand you're making a verbal presentation.
Excuse me, Mr. Chair, could I ask one other question of the assessor?
Of course.
Sorry to interrupt you. I'm just looking at the border revision order that was issued for the last appeal.
Yes.
And it says the applicant did not appear.
Right.
Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's what.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Zazella. Okay, Mr. Jablonski, when you're ready, please.
Okay, like I said, I'm going to subject myself to the homes around me, the ones I know about. And I bought the home in 1984. And I'm sure the assessors had all the purchase price of that home at that time. I did not change anything in the home. I moved in and began living there. And I've lived there ever since. So I've noticed that the home on the north side of me, 633, was sold, and it sold. The lady I talked to who bought it said she paid $50,000 for it, and it had the kitchen updated, and she lived there as the house was, and then she came to sell it, and during the Harper period of time when Harper gave was trying to appease people by updating their homes for them. And she got an application for that, and the government came in and updated her home. She was about to lose it, and she sold it for $125,000 after it was updated. Air conditioning, new windows, basement done, rewiring, all paid for by the taxpayer.
Mr. Jablonski, could I ask what year that occurred?
Oh, it's got to be about 10 years ago.
Okay. All right. Sorry, go ahead.
But then the lady in 2000 on the south side of me decided to sell her home. And the real estate told her that she could only get 40,000 for it. She kept it up, nice shape. I've been in it. She was no finished basement or anything, but the real estate said that due to the no air conditioning and no basement finished and no there was a wood outside, no siding, I guess, and everything like that. 40,000 was the most she could get for it. She sold it for 39.5. That was 629 Ingersoll. And the person who bought it, having a family in the construction business, knows more about the business of real estate, called in the assessors to reassess the value of the house. Because the lady who sold it was really upset that she could not get the assessed value of the house, but only 40,000 or less. So the lady who bought it informed me that the assessors had reassessed her house at a lower price.
Okay. With all due respect, sir, do you have any information? I think you're probably talking about 10 or 15 years ago, possibly. The assessor has shown that the homes in the area are selling for in the high, around $200,000, 175 to 220,000, depending on renovations. So do you have any information of more recent, in the last 2 years? I mean, 2016, 17, 18 sales in your area, or evidence of what's going on in that neighborhood recently?
Okay, 33 sold in October of the 2018.
Okay.
I overheard a lady talking one day about the price. She wanted 160. She said she would settle for 130. And the person who bought it had, in October of 2018, started tearing down the inside of the house and remodeling it. That's the same house that was remodeled by the government on behalf of the taxpayers. They've been remodeling that house ever since they bought it. So I don't think he paid 160,000 for it, or maybe he settled for or they settled for 130 or less, because nobody's going to pay that kind of price and have to remodel the whole house. As you stated yourself, the prices here are based on the condition of the house, updated from the year that was built. I mean, remodeling has been done to a lot of those houses, but they're not available. Nobody has checked it. It's like 629 after they got a revision to the property. They built a 2-car garage without a permit or without what do you call it, permit or a variance. You're supposed to post a variance or a permit. They didn't post either. So they built a garage and updated the area of the house, but there would be no evidence if they didn't get a permit. Because that's how I would think the government would go about checking out on stuff.
Okay.
So, I mean, okay, my house had not been increased at all in any, I lose it as it was, as it bought. And so there's no way I can get 183,000 for that house. If the city wants to pay me 183,000 for that house, they can have it. Because the only offers I'm getting is, we like to purchase your house for, what do you call it, to build it, to
to demolish and put an infill house in?
maybe remodel it and update it and sell it for profit. You want to buy it for,
To flip it.
what do you call it?
To flip it.
To flip it or something like that.
Yeah, okay.
So which means they're not gonna pay me no $123,000 for that house.
Okay,
So that's what I'm saying, the house is not worth, I paid 28,000 for it. So, if I haven't updated it and done anything to it, and land prices haven't gone up that much, that, it's gonna be 183,000. And especially if one neighbor couldn't get more than 40,000 for hers.
okay. Thank you for that. Ms. Nichols, any questions of the appellant?
No, I don't think so. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Rempel?
I'm wondering, you say you purchased the home in 1984. Have you made any changes at all to the home since you?
None of that.
Have you done anything like repaired the roof, replaced the windows, any of
No,
those?
I replaced the roof once. It needs replacing again. That's basically, you would have to replace a roof just to keep up the house,
Yes.
let alone, what I complained last time about was a person fixing up their house, like by painting it and every 3 years outside and that. They said that's only cosmetic. That doesn't affect the value of the house. Well, when the roof goes, you have to replace it.
Yes.
You don't replace it with old roof, you replace it with new roof. They say that it causes an increase in the value.
So that's the only
That's the only thing I
maintenance
did.
that you have done is replacing the roof?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Gisela. Bill, any questions of the appellant?
Yeah, you said the neighbor that sold for 40, was it 40,000 or 39,000?
39.5, she accepted 39.5.
When was that?
2000,
2000?
yeah.
No other questions.
Thank you, sir. Okay, Mr. Jablonski. Okay, so you put a new roof on over the last 10 years, shall we say? Any improvements for the kitchen cabinets, flooring,
Pardon?
floor finish? Any improvements to the kitchen cabinets,
No,
plumbing fixtures,
no,
floor finish, carpet, linoleum,
no,
siding,
no,
windows,
no.
furnace, hot water tank?
Old furnace, still there, hot water tank.
Okay. Okay, my next question is 2 doors over, 635, your neighbor 2 doors over. The assessor presented evidence that it sold for $327 a square foot. Have you any knowledge about the condition of that house 2 doors over?
Well, it was built the same, as the 5 houses that were all in surveyed out lots and was purchased by one construction company, and they built 629, 631, 633, 635, all in the same style. They all had a nook in the kitchen.
Okay. But my question to you is, we've got a mirror image of your property. What same square footage in the yard, except you've got a garage, they don't have a garage, right? Or when it's sold, they don't have a garage. It's sold,
Right.
and it's sold for $209,300 in 2017. You're assessed at $183,000. Obviously, there's been an age variant put on there, so there were renovations done, but it did sell for $25,000, $30,000 more than your property, but it was renovated. Do you have any knowledge of what was done to that house at 635? Ingersoll, 2 doors over from you?
35.
2 doors over from you. I believe 631 is your neighbor, then 630, maybe it's
633, I know, 635.
Next door to that, it sold for $209,000.
I didn't see anything going on in that house there. No, I don't recall anything going on, really.
Okay, what, any knowledge of the condition of it? Did somebody do some major renovations in the way of siding, windows, like any modernization on the outside visible or possibly inside? I'm not sure if you have knowledge of that.
Well, the stairwell was fixed going into the house.
Okay,
One house there, I don't know if that was the house that
okay,
a musician moved in, and they soundproofed the basement. But I don't know if that's the house that got the soundproof basement or not.
okay.
I don't see much done on the outside of it. It's wood. It was wood.
Yeah, okay. Okay, so you're stating that what I'm going to ask from you is, if you think that the assessment of $183,000 is wrong, then what do you think this board should adjust the assessment to? What do you think the market value of your property is if you were to have sold it April 1st, 2018?
Well, I'm not in real estate, and I'm not an assessor. I say if 629, the person kept the property quite nicely, and all she was told by the real estate that she could be asking for is 40,000, and she settled for 39.5.
Okay. But sir, four houses in your neighborhood have sold for close to $200,000.
But nobody knows what was done to the inside or how much.
Okay, I know, but realistically, nobody's going to sell their property, including you, for $40,000. So you're talking about times past here.
Didn't want to sell her property for 40,000 either, but she.
Okay, so my point is, you've appeared here today, thinking you're appearing because you think the value at $183,000 is too high. I'm asking you, what do you think the value of your property is if it were to have sold April 1st, 2018? What would you accept it if somebody made you an offer?
If you think my property is worth $183,000,
I'm asking you what you think.
$183,000, and you can have the damn property.
Okay,
but
sir. All I'm asking you is, I'm asking you, what do you think this panel should revise your assessment to?
You need to act like an assessor. I'm not an assessor, and I'm not a real estate agent. And I'm not sorry for speaking up.
But we're asking you, what do you think the assessment should be?
I give you a price that I said that the next door neighbor's house could only sell for that much. I don't care if it was 10 years ago or what it was.
Okay.
I'm out getting offers from people to tear down the house or to renovate, change the house, or what they do with houses. They're not going to offer me $183,000.
Well, the problem is you're not giving us an estimate of value to revise this assessment. You appear here because you think the value is wrong, then in my opinion, you must have some kind of value that you think the assessment should be. That's what I'm asking you for.
I say then it shouldn't be more than $40,000. And
40,000, okay.
And the taxes on 40,000.
Okay. So just to be clear, you're asking the panel to revise your assessment down to $40,000, reflective of April 1st, 2018 market value, and that you would sell it for $40,000.
That's what you're assuming.
Okay. All right.
No, I see the grin on your face. You think it's a stupid thing, but maybe it is to you. But
No, sir. No, you have your opinion. I'm just here to. We're just here to.
I'm not.
Here to accept the evidence and make our decisions based on the evidence presented. I have no opinion on it. We'll decide in camera based on the assessored evidence and your evidence. Simple as that.
You have access to information I don't have access to. The assessors have access to all the forms, the sales and the prices that were. I think the assessors are accepting, looking for the highest possible price houses, and they're not looking at the lower price houses when they're looking for an assessment value. And
well, may I suggest to you that you can simply call a real estate agent and get a market evaluation. Simple as that. You have tools that you can use to value your property also. And the assessor isn't going to be chasing high assessments. She's going to look at market evidence that were used to develop the assessments and appear before this panel, present that evidence with an honest opinion of her opinion of value based on her expertise.
But do you know what the improvements inside were done to change things, to make the home more valuable?
Right. You know what? The simplest way to look at it is this: there's 5 houses you stated that were built at the same time many years ago. If all 5 decided to sell those homes together, and 3 real estate agents came in to do a market evaluation on all 5, there would not be. I would suggest that every house would have a different valuation because of improvements done to the properties or not done to the properties, as you stated. And that's the same with assessments. When you look at the market value presented by the assessor, there's a range of selling prices that reflect not renovated, maybe structural problems, or fully renovated. And that's what we're here to determine, based on evidence presented, where your property falls within that range. And that's what the assessor looks at also. And that's why she's presented. That's why none of the houses sell exactly the same price per square foot. And that we're always presented with that information. Our job is to decide, based on the evidence presented by the appellant and the assessor, where you fall within that range and whether the assessment is defendable based on the evidence, market evidence presented. That's all we're asking for. And that's why I asked you for an estimate of value of what your house would sell for.
Mr. Chair, further questions of the assessor at this time? So we don't have any information except verbal information presented by the appellant, but we do have the information that was presented by the assessor of the comparables to subject home. And it looks to me like comparable number 2 has had some renovations, because I see that the effective age has been updated from 1910 to 1925. I don't know if you have any insight into what those may have been. I also noticed that comparable number 4 must have had some fairly extensive renovations, because the effective age has been moved from 1927 to 1925. So do you have any insight as to what those renovations may have been?
So I believe you meant comparable 1.
Sorry, comparable 1.
Okay, yeah, so
25?
right, with the effective age of 1925. So this property they had some updates done to the kitchen. So it's not like a high-end renovation. It's laminate counters and kind of basic cabinets, but they did update their kitchen, and they kind of did the same thing to the bathroom. So they do have those 2 upgrades done. And then the listing had also said that the knob and tube wiring had been removed from the home, and it just said newer windows. So I don't know if the windows, I don't think they're brand new windows. It didn't say when they were done, so I don't have any information about that, but that's what the listing said regarding that property.
Okay, and how about comparable number 4?
So 635 Ingersoll was similar in the sense that it had the updated kitchen and bathroom, not a high-end renovation again, but like the laminate counters, kind of basic cabinet thing. This property also said it had a new furnace, and same with the new wiring for that property as well. And this property said it had 50% of the windows replaced. So I guess half the windows were replaced. Again, it didn't say when. And then I believe this one had also, oh yeah, already listed, central air conditioning. So.
I'm sorry, also what?
This property has air conditioning.
Air conditioning.
Yeah.
So in terms of your comparables then, I see that all of the time-adjusted sale price per square feet are lower than the subject property, except for number 4, which has had some fairly major work done on the home. Is that correct?
Per square foot, yep, that would be correct.
Okay, that's all the questions I have then. Thank you.
Thank you, Gisela. Okay, Mr. Jablonski, anything else you'd like to discuss or summarize?
Well, air conditioning in the home would improve the value of the home. A new furnace would improve the value of the home a lot. Those 2 things alone would make the price of the home go up. I have not did either one of them. I use a fan, and remodeling the kitchen would maybe improve the value of the house, although I doubt it would improve much because the lady at 629 did that. She remodeled her kitchen, took out the chimney and put it in the back of the house, and then she came to sell it. All she could get was $40,000 asking price. So, and it's the same house as mine, exactly the same. So, no, I'll have to let the assessors assess it and take it from there.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Ms. Nichols, any requirement for summary?
No, I'm okay, thank you.
Okay. All right. Mr. Jablonski, thank you for appearing. We will consider evidence presented by both parties, and you will hear from us as soon as possible. Okay. Thank you, sir. Thank you. That concludes 631 Ingersoll. May I suggest a 7-minute break?
So I guess just before we start the item, I'll have the applicant affirmed.
Okay, so it's going to be 119 Ingersoll Street, the next property?
No, I think it's 115 Lipton.
Oh, pardon me, 115 Lipton Street, right. Okay, I apologize. Okay, of course.
So
okay, we'll call the hearing back to order.
State your name, please, for the record.
Patrick Carroll.
And do you affirm the evidence you will present today is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning, Mr. Carroll. We're going to be dealing with 115 Lipton Street. Ms. Nichols, when you're ready, please.
Okay, so 115 Lipton Street, roll number is 12-081691000. This property is in Wolseley. It's a 2-story home built in 1914. We have an effective age of 1949, which would reflect some renovations. Living area of 1,372 square feet, a full basement, which is not finished. no air conditioning, and no detached structures on the property. And the 2021 assessment for this property is $312,000 or $227.41 per square foot. There is a post-reference sale price for this property, which again, I'm not going to reference because it's post-reference. So comparable one is 459 Stiles Street. It's in the same neighborhood. It's also a 2-story, built in 1912, so very similar to the subject. It has an effective age of 1927, so it does have some renovations, but maybe not as much as the subject does have. Living area of 1,439 square feet, so it's a little bit larger. It has the same full basement, which is not finished, no air and no detached structures. This property sold for a time-adjusted sale price of $280,100 or $194.65 per square foot. So I do believe that the lower sale price for this property is reflective of the level of renovation. Comparable to is 1203 Wolseley Avenue in the same neighborhood, 2-story, built in 1910, so just a little bit older, but very similar to the subject. Square footage of 1,284 square feet, so just smaller than the subject. A full basement, which is not finished. This property does have air conditioning, but no detached structures. The time adjusted sale price for this property is $275,200 or $214.33 per square foot. Comparable number 3 is 471 Craig Street, a 2-story, built in 1912 with an effective age of 1952. So that is much more comparable to the subject in terms of level of renovation. Square footage of 1,277 square feet. So it is smaller than the subject by about 100 square feet. This property has a full part area basement, which is not finished. It has air conditioning, but no detached structures. And this property sold for $313,700 or $245.65 per square foot. And then the final comparable is 255 Garfield Street South, 2-story, built in 1920. It's a little bit newer than the subject, but pretty close, with an effective age of 1930. 1,380 square feet, very similar square footage. This property does have a finished basement, no air conditioning, and no detached structures. This property sold for $323,300 for the time adjusted sale price, which is $234.28 per square foot. So I think just looking at the range of sales, I do think that the subject property does fall within that range. And I do think that the assessment is fair. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Nicol. Mr. Carroll, any questions on the evidence presented by the assessor?
Well, I would just question Garfield had a second bathroom and a basement, finished basement, and a larger property, which would probably pull it out of the range of my house. That was number 4. Also, comp 3 is extensively rented. They opened up the dining room to the kitchen, installed the whole new kitchen with stainless steel appliances, gas ring. The second floor bathroom is very large, possibly around 12 by 8, the size of a bedroom. And the house has been, kind of top to bottom refinished. So I feel that those comparables are maybe a bit out of scope compared to the condition of my house. And that's my question. Those two being that they're maybe not that comparable. Okay. Can I add one more thing? Yeah, comparable to on Wolseley more desirable. Often, right.
Excuse me, I cannot hear this gentleman.
Oh, sorry. Is this better?
Yeah, I can just a little bit too.
Let me just put on a microphone.
Yeah, it's breaking up a little bit, Mr. Carroll.
Let's test this out and see if it works better.
Way better.
Yes.
Okay, sorry about that.
That's okay. Perhaps maybe I'll ask you to start all over again.
I can do that.
Picture 3 and 4, but yeah, okay. Thank you.
Right. So I talked about 3 and 4, and then I was just making a comment about comparable 2, which is on Wolseley, which is a more desirable street. It's a large boulevard. It's closed on Sundays and holidays, and often commands also a premium, maybe to other streets. That would just be my question to her selection of those outside of maybe the square footage of the living space.
Sorry, I'm not sure I understand the question.
Yeah, so you included these 4 comparables. I found that comparable 4 maybe falls outside the scope of a comparable based on the number of bathrooms and the finished basement and the size of the lot. Comparable 3 on Craig Street was completely renovated substantially. They've opened up the kitchen and dining room. It has all new appliances and an apron front sink. It's being renovated, and the bathroom is substantially larger than average. So I would not necessarily consider them a very good comparable for a square footage price versus other properties in the neighborhood.
Okay, I think I'm just trying to figure out what the question is.
How you decided to include those as comparables?
Oh, okay. Well, I was looking at properties that were close by in the neighborhood, similar square footage, which these all are. Mostly, most of the comparables had no finished basement except for the last one, which I think is reflected in the higher sale price. Comparable 3 is, maybe more renovated, but it is also smaller. So, maybe a little bit of a balance there, but I still think that, there's no perfect comparables, right? There's no house that's exactly like yours in terms of, size or level of renovation. But I do think that just kind of looking generally at the range in value shown by these comparables, I do still think that your property has had some renovations as well. So I do think that it's in a reasonable range. It's not like, completely out in left field in terms of the value.
I agree that it's very hard to find a comparable to our house, and that's what my wife and I struggled to do. So we approached it a bit different with a larger sample. Craig Street is a very desirable house, that particular one, just based on if you saw the pictures, it's an outlier. And also having a second, and we referred to comparable 4, having a second bathroom and a finished basement and a larger lot would also pull it to the high side. And just to comment on this, your square footage, like dollar per square foot, is skewed dramatically by those, right? Half the comparables maybe being higher priced than the average in the neighborhood.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know. Again, not exactly a question, but
no, sorry.
Yeah.
That's all I have to say.
Yeah.
I guess what should be noted is they all have wage variance, including the subject property, which makes them comparable in the assessor's opinion. Sorry, Ms. Nichols, but put words in your mouth, but yeah.
Yeah, that's basically, I think, what I said.
Okay.
Yeah, basically what I think. Thank you.
Okay, anything else, Mr. Carroll?
Not until it's my turn to present.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Rempel, any questions of the assessor?
I have no questions, thank you.
You, Bill, any questions of the assessor?
No questions.
Okay, thank you. And just bear with me 1 second. I think I'm good, but I'm just gonna review everything. Okay. So all subject all subject and 4 comps have age variance reflecting some kind of renovation done to all of them. They're all in NCA 113 Wolseley, although that does span quite an area there, from east to west. And you've detailed on page 3 the renovations done to the subject property. Okay. And you've left out that post-reference sale, right? Okay. All right, I'm just sort of reviewing this here, Ms. Nicol. All right. So I have no other questions. Mr. Carroll, when you are ready, please. Just bear with me 1 second. I think you've got a written presentation here. Just bear with me that I can, before I find it, so I can follow along with you, please.
Yeah.
Thank you. Sorry, just trying to pull up that exact. What item would that be, Kara?
Item 7.
7, okay.
It was
Sorry.
the original email I sent.
Yeah, yeah, I thought. It's here somewhere. Item 5. And it was number 7?
Yes.
Okay, I've got it. Thank you. Yeah, sorry, Mr. Carroll. Please proceed.
No problem. Yeah, so we kind of just made a bit of a written overview of what I'm going to go over. So the assessment increased from about 234 to 312, which was a massive increase, and we feel doesn't necessarily reflect maybe the true value of the property. Yeah, we talk about the post-reference purchase price, but that's post-reference, so we'll move on from that. The previous owners were long-term owners. They hadn't done many improvements at all to the house, and possibly also neglected some of the maintenance, which was causing some substantial defects to the property, which were also there in 2018. There was massive mold in the basement on all 4 walls that was hidden by shelving and drainage issues with the landscaping, causing seepage and saturation of the stone foundation, which has degraded and has required substantial repairs since we've moved in the last few months. Basically, there's a lot of overdue maintenance with the home, and we've had to invest significant amounts of money to remediate the mold and prevent it from returning in the future. Between the mold remediation, waterproofing, replacement of the stairs in the front, which had to be removed for the foundation repair, as well as repair and repointing of the foundation, we're at around $17,000, and there's more to come. We have to replace the rear deck as well, which had to be removed to repair the foundation. We did try to litigate against the sellers, but decided not to pursue that due to the unlikelihood of recovering some of the costs. Since these issues were there in 2018, I feel that they would devalue the property compared to maybe others in the neighborhood at the time. Yeah, so we have a slide about our purchase price, but that is post-reference. So we can ignore the reasons for offered purchase price at this time because we bought it post-reference. Going back to the sales data and comparables in the neighborhood, like I mentioned earlier, it was very difficult to find comparables because our house is missing a lot of the amenities that other houses often have, like detached buildings like garages, fireplaces, air conditioning, finished basements. We have none of these here. So I did attach a table with more than just a couple of properties. Rather, we took about just over half a dozen properties across the neighborhood and did a comparison with that, what they sold for in 2018 and a list of the value-adding amenities that most of them have. There is a fairly similar property on our street. It's at the top of the table. 98 Lipton has an adjusted sale price of $237,800. It's 1,420 square feet, so it's technically bigger, and a slightly smaller lot, 40 square feet smaller, but it has air conditioning, and so on, all the way up to some more expensive properties. All in all, what we found out was that the average sale price for kind of similar houses is $276,000. For houses with similar square foot living space and a similar lot size, but they all, except one, had 1 to 3 of these value adding features, which, like a garage or a finished basement, which we feel would devalue our property in comparison maybe to the average, as well as the foundation and structural issues, which would have devalued the property also further had it come to market in 2018. So our proposed kind of adjusted sale price based on the lack of these extra value-adding features and the structural issues and mold issues with the home would be around $250,000, or in the $250,000 to $260,000 range, which is about $182 a foot, up from the $172 a foot, which was the previous assessed value. I think that is all I have to say. Yeah, so, yeah.
Okay, Mr. Carroll. Yeah, if you have anything to add, we'll certainly speak up. Okay, Ms. Nicol, any questions on the appellant's evidence presented?
Yes, I do have a couple of questions. So I guess just kind of starting at the top of the evidence that you submitted, and just looking at the mold issues and some of the water issues that the property had at the time of purchase. So have all of these issues been remediated? Has everything been fixed?
It's in process.
Okay. And when do you expect the work to be complete?
We're waiting. We have had some permitting issues in replacing the rear deck. So I would assume these will be finished. I'll allow October to November.
Of this year?
Yeah.
Okay. So in terms of I think the document you provided mentioned some foundation, let me just see, degrading foundation, seepage, failing mortar, parging on the exterior. So this was kind of contributing to some of the water that was happening in the basement. Is that correct?
Yep, or were caused by.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so have those issues been fixed?
Not entirely. We had the mold remediated because it was inhabitable. The foundation waterproofing, we did just the front wall and the back wall of the foundation due to the cost factor, and we feel that'll improve the situation on its own, or enough to protect the building. And then we just, we have now front steps to our porch. So that has occurred. And the foundation repointing, the exterior is complete, but the interior has not begun, but should happen soon. It is in such a poor state that you can listen to it while you eat breakfast just crumble. So
sorry, can you just maybe explain that a little bit further? What can you hear from the inside?
Right, the foundation actually, the parging and the mortar falling out of this in between the stones is so far gone that you'll be sitting in the main floor and you can hear crunch, 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 and you go down and there's more rocks on the floor.
Oh, okay, so
it's quite dramatic.
Okay, so it's happening from the inside.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And is that something that you're planning to get fixed, or are you just...
we have to, and we do have a mason coming. He's going to come actually today to take a look at the work. Yeah.
Okay, so is that something that you think will be done by the end of the year as well?
Yes, it's absolutely required to maintain the structure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
We wouldn't want it to collapse.
Right. Okay. Okay, so just just to sort of I go over this with you. So basically, we're looking at the condition of the property as of January 1st of 2021, and then kind of what the property in that condition would have sold for as of April 1st of 2018. So basically, as of January 1st, 2021, you're expecting like most of the or all of the remediation to be done by that point?
I would think, exactly, yeah.
Yeah, okay. Okay, and then, so then I'm just gonna go down to the comparables. There's definitely a lot of comparables listed here. One of the, and I'm sure you would agree, one of the biggest things that can impact the value, like kind of all else being equal, if the square footage is equal, and kind of those basic characteristics, is the level of renovation of the property. So can you tell us what the level of renovation is for the properties that you've presented as comparables, or maybe especially the ones that you've highlighted, since there are 17 properties, like 98 Lipton, you sort of highlighted. So do you know what condition that property is in?
From the interior, not very well. From the exterior, it looks very similar to our house. A lot of the two-story buildings in Wolseley look very similar from the exterior. Similar, but I haven't been in any of these houses. I just based our analysis on an average, assuming some are going to be better condition, some worse. They primarily all have finished basements or garages or extra features. Since I didn't have the data or access to all of the interiors of these houses, it's hard to judge. So it's basically, here are some that are lower priced. Here are some that are higher priced. Here's the average per square foot. I feel our house is fairly average. It has an older kitchen, an older bathroom, no new insulation or anything like that, or old siding.
Okay, so without knowing the specifics of each property, maybe just speaking in generalities, would you maybe agree that a property at the very bottom of the range might be reflective of a property that doesn't have renovations, or maybe very, very little in renovations, and then at the top of the range would be like more highly renovated property?
To a degree, there's also market influences when it's based on actual sales, whether it's sold in a January or in the peak of the market. There can be wild fluctuations. There's always outliers, right? So sometimes it's not a one-to-one. The property is worth this, and that's what it commanded. Sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say the time adjusted sale price, which I do see that you have used in your evidence, does the kind of the intention of using a reference date, which is April 1st of 2018, is to sort of flatten out all of those fluctuations. So it's kind of saying, if this property, even though it sold in the winter, if it had sold in the spring, this is what it would have sold for. So it's kind of like flattens out all of those.
Well, would it not just carry on that the property is still lower priced?
It would.
Or higher priced had it sold at a peak or a valley?
It would if it was lower priced because it had, for example, it had no renovations. Of course, the time adjustment wouldn't all of a sudden, make it a rent as if it had been renovated. But the time adjustment would just sort of trying to level out the playing field so that you could see what this property, so that you could see, it's so that you can compare all the properties on a more even kind of scale. That's adjust for how the market changed over the year. And
but it's not necessarily for something that's sold at the peak of the market or a valley. Rather, the time from the adjustment the April 1st, 2018. So if it's the reference sale is 18 months ago or 12 months ago or 6 months ago, then they all time adjust to there, but it doesn't account for outliers, outlying sales, which are maybe a very good deal or overpriced compared to, the average.
Okay. Okay. So I don't want to like sort of belabor
Yeah.
one point.
Nope.
So yeah. Okay. So, but I think that was pretty much all of the questions that I had for you. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Nichols. Ms. Rempel, any questions of the appellant?
Yes, thank you for your thoughtful presentation. I'm just wondering, in terms of the renovations, you say you have already spent over $17,000. Is that the total amount of the expenditure you think you're going to have to make for the foundation work and everything?
There'll probably be a little bit more. Currently, we don't have rear stairs because we had to remove them to do their foundation waterproofing at the back of the property. There was an existing deck that we took out, and we can't replace that exact same deck because it requires a variance because it was built to the property line. So we're waiting on what that's all going to mean. We're probably just going to put in a small landing with stairs, so nothing that would really increase the property, as well as a wheelchair lift for our son. There's also, I mean, we should note there was a fence that had been removed also since then. And yeah, it's probably going to be closer to $20,000, but I would say that this is more not a renovation or necessarily value adding, but preservation of the structure. Had we been fully aware of the extent of this issue, we would not have offered on this property. And that is why we also did the first steps to suing the previous owner. So yes, my property will be worth more in 2021, but only because it will remain standing and not become uninhabitable, right?
Thank you. I'm also wondering, I noticed on the information that was presented by the assessor that it says the effective age of your home, although it was built in 1914, is 1949, which normally means substantial enhancements have occurred. What would the nature of those enhancements be?
Well, I believe the renovation that they did was possibly in the mid-90s. I'm just estimating. They did put in sheet vinyl flooring in the kitchen. I don't know if you're familiar with Wolseley houses. They often have these a mudroom or like a sun porch at the back of the property, kind of like an addition that cantilevers out. There's like a.
I grew up in Wolseley.
Oh, perfect. All right. So there's one of these mud rooms. So they extended the kitchen into that kind of mudroom area with vinyl flooring and insulated that portion. The kitchen certainly isn't new, and we will probably update it at some point. It's all like laminate counters, a single bowl stainless steel sink, electric range, nothing custom or anything like that. They also freshened up the bathroom at some time. It no longer has the original cast iron tub that I would assume was there, with a simple bathroom, 5-foot bathtub, 1 shower head, laminate countertop. I assume that's the renovation that maybe changed the time or the age of the house or whatever they'll call it. But there was no insulation or residing of the house or in a different material or something like that.
Sorry, if I could just jump in. The listing, I did provide the listing as part of my evidence. And just the last part, the last sentence or two describes the upgrades that were done. It doesn't say when they were done, just what was done over the years.
Thank you. That's all my questions.
Thank you, Ms. Rempel. Bill, any questions of the appellant?
Yes. So you invested 17,000 already, and you have how much more remaining to complete the repairs to the foundation and the mold?
Right. So the 17,000 covers basically everything that's there. What is left is basically this rear deck, landing, stairs.
Rear deck.
Yeah.
Years. Okay, so everything is pretty much done with respect to the foundation.
Well, yeah, plus the rear stairs. Yeah.
So in your summary, you say property, third point, bullet point is property has significant defects.
Yes.
You say that, you're talking about the foundation still? Even though it's done?
Well, yeah, it's not done, but yeah, those were the defects. When you look at the 2018 time adjusted sales price, right? If we were to go back to 2018, this product house has significant defects, right? A buyer then would have had the same foundation issues as we have now. The mold and the foundation issues were existing. So
what you're asking then is to have the property devalued to the 2018 amount due to the defects that were existing at the time.
That's part of the. It's kind of part of the evidence in evaluating it at a below average price in the 2018 comparison.
So what would you say the proposed adjusted sales price, 250,000 is what you're proposing?
Yeah.
So if those defects were factored out, like they were complete, what would you think the adjusted sales price should be? Do you have an idea?
I would say they'd be closer to possibly 260.
260?
Yeah. I still feel it's below average just because the other properties have more amenities, like a garage or a basement, which are very expensive upgrades. And they also possibly have more bathrooms, and we only have one.
Okay, that's all the questions I have.
Thank you, Bill. Okay, on that point, Mr. Carroll, so your original estimate of value was based on the fact that you weren't considering the current condition with the remediation done, but rather the current condition in 2018. Is that correct?
Maybe partially. I still feel it would be in the 250 to 260 range had it been mold free and had whatever the foundation was in okay condition, right? Which what the average of all those comparables would show.
Okay. Well, just to be clear, you will have spent about $20,000 to correct the deficiencies in the home.
Yeah, to maintain its condition, yeah.
Okay. All right. And the assessor detailed the sales listing in 2019. We don't know what that selling price was, but it looks like it was. Was that an accurate description of the home? If we ignore the deficiencies that were hidden.
I'll have to read the listing again, but I would say it was fair. And the pictures are also current pictures, or they were from last fall. Yeah.
Okay. All right. No, actually, Miss Nichols, I have a question for you. I forgot to ask.
Mm-hmm.
There was a major increase in the home, and I suspect, was that because of a sales check done on the property?
Yes. Yeah. So that was basically adding the effective age.
Okay.
And
was it inspected or was it just done on the MLS?
It was based on the MLS on the listing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, was there? I think it was quite an increase there. I think the appellant said 45%, I believe. Was there some kind of condition modifier previously on the property, or was it assessed as average? Like, where we get one of these where it's assessed as fair with an allowance made and then it goes to good, for instance,
right.
condition, or the age variant applied. There seems to be quite an increase there.
Yeah, it's.
I'm not sure if you have that.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I just trying to find it, but no, it's at average, and there's no note about changing it. So
Okay, so it was the age variant that drove up the value.
I believe so, as far as I can tell.
reflecting the
Yeah.
renovations on the property or unassessed improvements on the property.
Right.
In your opinion, yeah, okay. Okay. And Ms. Nichols, is there an assessment for a deck on the property currently? Small deck, I guess.
Let me just double check. Yes, there is
Okay.
a small deck. Yeah.
Yeah. So, Mr. Carroll, I guess you're going to be. You've removed it to do foundation repairs, I believe you said, and you're going to be replacing it with some kind of a small structure, including steps. What I understand.
A landing.
A landing. Okay.
Yeah. The old deck was about 15 by 10, 150 square feet, and the new landing will probably be 5 by 5, approximately, enough to come out of the door and then down.
Okay. So just out of curiosity, have you taken out permits for any of this work?
That is all in process. We've been working with the permitting office for many months now.
Okay. So
but yes,
so
absolutely.
I'm sorry. So Ms. Nichols, the department will visit the property or at least review the permits taken out.
Yeah.
When they come into the office, you have time to do so, right? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So, Ms. Nichols, any requirement for summary at all?
No, I think I'm okay. Yeah.
Mr. Carroll, anything further to add?
No, I just feel that the 45% increase in the assessment, even though it may be based on the renovations that occurred many years ago, are still average for the neighborhood and wouldn't have commanded a higher price based on the comparables and from other properties in the market. That is all. Thanks.
Okay. Gisela, do you have a question? You look like you might want to ask a question.
I'm good.
Okay. All right. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Carroll, and we'll consider both parties' evidence, and you'll hear from us as soon as possible. Okay. Thank you for appearing.
Thank you very much. Take care.
Thank you. You too. That concludes 115 Lipton Street. Okay, Kara, you're going to have to help me out here. What have we got left?
One item left, 758 Sherburne, it's item 8.
Okay.
There's here, but there is a record as part of the assessor's brief, recommendation.
The appellant is not attending? Okay,
Right.
and
Yeah.
any word from them at all?
I actually spoke with the owner of the property, and we came to an agreement, just not with enough time for feedback.
Okay,
Yeah.
sorry, Ms. Nichols. Okay, so could you go through for the record into the property and explain what adjustments have been made on the assessment? Thank you.
Sure. So 758 Sherburne, roll number 13-02071100. One-story property built in 1930, no renovations other than painting. 828 square feet, full basement, which is not finished, and a single detached garage. The current 2021 assessment is $211,000 or $254.83 per square foot. So the comparables that I was able to find, they're all in the same neighborhood, all one stories, all built, in a similar time range, similar square footage. Comparables 2 and 4 don't have a basement finished, but 1 and 3 do. So you can see that the sale prices for comparables 1 and 3 are a bit higher than for 2 and 4. And comparable 4 also doesn't have the detached garage. So again, kind of a lower sale price there. But after reviewing the comparable sales, I did think that the value should come down. So from $211,000, the highest comparable that I was able to find was $198,900 for the time adjusted sale price. So just after reviewing the comparables, I am recommending a reduction to $175,000, which is $211.35 per square foot I think that reflects the market a little bit more accurately, and the homeowner did agree to that value.
Okay, thank you very much. Ms. Rempel, any questions?
No questions, thank you.
Bill, any questions?
No questions.
Okay, and I have no questions. So that concludes 758 Sherburne Street. Recommendation to revise to 175,000, agreed to by the homeowner. Anything else, Kara?
Oh, we have touched every item now.
Okay, thank you. Thanks, Ms. Nichols, for appearing.
Okay, thank you.
Leave it with us, okay? Thank you very much.
Okay, thanks.
Okay. And I do believe that concludes our hearing.